This first chart shows the results of the strategy without a control mechanism in place. The strategy involves the recombination of chips throughout spin cycles. The idea of a house edge cannot be disputed as most of the players lose frequently and quickly. But when we induce a control mechanism into the strategy, we can observe an increase in winners. Take note that these first charts are at the same random state. This ensures we are measuring the influence of the control mechanism with consistency. Zooming in a bit, these players finished their run with at least 5% return from their gambling. Whereas in the first, uncontrolled, simulation, only one player managed to stay in the green. One point to make is that all players contain valuable information. Even though most players had losing results, there are periods of uptrends in their history. The question is, can we find a correlation between the activity of the spins and the recombination of the chips that result in these uptrends? My guess is yes. In fact, the use of completely random drawings of spins and combinations makes this pursuit very prudent. Which is where reinforcement learning will make a place in this experiment. But in the meantime, let's examine the effects of control measures with complete randomness applied to the process. Here we see the same strategy, but with added control measures on top of the ones previously. We are transforming losers into winners. Although the majority still fall off into the negatives, our countermeasures appear to be working. We can see a notable cluster within $2,500. As we take a closer look, let's ask, is there a commonality with the players who are within this cluster? What is the probability that the recombinations are closely linked together? Is a relationship between spin states and the certain combination in place thereof?
A common practice amongst traders is that they tend to wait for a particular setup before entering a trade. They observe the market until conditions are right for the particular strategy. Looking at the game of roulette, given our specific strategy, provides a comparison. Especially since the simulation carries no reinforcement implementation. It goes to show that applying control measures at random may uncover hidden commonalities that lead to further developments. In other words, there is an inadvertent correlation between the winners. A commonality that can be interpreted as a reaction. A reaction can be implemented based on the likelihood that the future groups are in place as a reaction to past spin states. The control measure here is simply applying a cool-down period once certain thresholds happen to be met. It pays to wait, set profit goals, once reached, take a step back to observe the environment. Then when your turn is up, place your bets.
Here are a few more iterations of the strategy, with expanded control measures, across different random states, as to observe the stability the control measures induce against the uncertainty and edge against the players. It will be interesting to see what reinforcement can do for our players' performance. Subscribe and tune in as I may livestream the strategy in action via online casino.